There's a moment at the end of episode 1 of My Adventures of Superman that turned a solid starter episode for a cool cartoon into a show I became obsessed with. After defeating a giant evil robot, Superman flies into the sky and laments how he didn't have the normal day he wished for, but then smiles seeing how grateful Lois and Jimmy are to be saved. To me, one of the most special aspects of Superman is about how nice, seemingly simple gestures of heroism become something profound. And this scene shows that My Adventures of Superman gets it. My Adventures of Superman might be my favorite Superman screen adaptation. I love a lot of Superman adaptations, like the Superman vs. the Elite animated movie and the 2025 James Gunn film, but the My Adventures cartoon series spoke to me at the right time and helped further solidify my recent love for the Superman character even before I saw episode 1, as it was love at first sight when I saw that first promo images for My Adventures. That teaser image with the expressive anime-influenced art style that showcased the charming character dynamics coupled with the bright colors, that single image did so much to get me excited for and sell me on this show, even when we thought for a brief moment it was destined to be written off for taxes by Warner Brothers. Luckily, Adult Swim picked up the show to broadcast, even if it was initially aimed at a younger audience on the Cartoon Network. Well, whatever. The show released its initial 2 seasons over the course of 2 years in 2023 and 2024, and even managed to impress the new DC Studios leadership so much to get a 3rd season coming out this month in 2026. So today, I want to talk a bit about every episode of the first 2 seasons of My Adventures of Superman, and why I like this show so much. Just gushing over all the neat little details and character moments that I notice. We already talked about episode 1, but episode 2 is a great follow-up, not only continuing the Japanese media influence present throughout the entire series by having a Metal Gear Solid influenced Big Boss Jor-El and a Pretty Cure style magical girl transformation for Superman's new suit, but the important cherry on top is Clark receiving the red trunks from his mother. Such a brilliant way to connect Superman to the humans that raised him and give context to one of the most important aspects of the costume. Episode 3 not only furthers the charming character dynamics between Clark, Lois, and Jimmy that's at the core of the entire series, but even has another great trio dynamic with the Inner Gang. I love villain groups that feel like actual friend groups while they do their evil deeds as co-workers, which makes for a really charming contrast between their actions and personalities. There is a part of me that wishes we got to see more of them throughout the entire series, but we gotta fight other villains, and they still serve their purpose well. Speaking of other villains, episode 4's main villain is the billionaire Ivo, who is basically a better version of modernizing that quirky billionaire archetype of guy than whatever Batman v Superman did with Lex Luthor. Also, yeah, Lex Luthor's in the show with hair, funnily enough. I love the detail that Ivo is losing money while doing all these evil and big projects. Very timely with the current rise and fall of generative AI investors. Also dug his mecha armor that looked like the Guyver. To be honest, I find episode 5 to be one of the weaker episodes of My Adventures of Superman due to the half-baked melodrama between Lois finding out Clark is Superman, but I like how early it is in the show, so we can quickly move on to explore different sides of their romantic dynamics sooner than just do the secret identity shtick for the whole season or series, God forbid. Thankfully, episode 6 is a good rebound episode. I quite like the funny gay robot gorilla couple and how they need to escape to another dimension to find a place where they can be accepted. This is in contrast to Superman, who stays to protect the people of his dimension to fight for a metropolis where everyone can be accepted. Neither is wrong for doing what they do, but that's just the reality of these situations of oppressed minorities in these cruel worlds. Episode 7 has a Kingdom Hearts reference, so it's automatically a 10 out of 10. Other than that, this episode is just some chaotic fun multiversal misunderstandings while teasing a possible bad future for this version of Clark Kent, because we can never escape evil Superman these days, even in the good projects. Episodes 8 and 9 are an action-packed 2-parter where all the villains team up against Superman, and smartly this 2-parter opens with Clark going on a spree of helping out the people of Metropolis, and then ends with Metropolis's people helping Superman take down the kaiju-fied Ivo. Very smart storytelling right there. Episode 10 is the Season 1 finale, which serves to conclude season-wide story arcs like Lois's military dad beefing with Superman due to a misunderstanding from years ago, while setting up major villains and mysteries for Season 2. I appreciate the Thanksgiving backdrop of getting all the characters together, but because Season 2 is already greenlit, this feels like a lot more setup for Season 2 than a finale to Season 1, if that makes sense. Which isn't a bad thing, it's just a thing. But before we head into Season 2, I want to talk a bit about the intros and outros. Yeah, the intro is only a 30-second rock instrumental, but the visuals accurately and beautifully sell the best aspects of My Adventures of Superman despite the modern limitation. Another thing I appreciate is how the ending credit visuals change not only between seasons, but between episodes depending on where certain characters and events are at that moment. Also, speaking of the credits, they not just credit the Superman creators, but creators of any important characters that show up for an episode. Love to see it. So, Season 2 of My Adventures of Superman is much more serialized than Season 1, which is good for the evolving stakes of the show's plot, but it makes it hard to talk about every episode as an individual art piece since they all connect to form a bigger story, so I'm just going to be bundling a few episodes together for this segment to make things easier for me. Such as Episodes 1 and 2, which set up the major season-wide plots for the season, like Clark recently discovering he has a cousin, and that the two of them are the last of the Kryptonians left, Lois's dad is bumming it at Clark's apartment, and Jimmy has a running gag of slowly losing his newly gained net worth on various silly and not so silly things. Solid setup. I like how Jimmy accidentally sets up Lex Luthor's whole villain shtick into motion through a pep talk. That's funny. Episode 3 shows Lois as a really solid reporter, even getting the attention of Vicky Vale of the Gotham Gazette. I don't mention it in every episode because it would get really repetitive if I did, but I really dig how emphasized the journalistic aspect of Clark and his friends' lives are in this show. It's not just portrayed as a typical day job to ignore for superhero antics, it's presented as a useful tool in defeating villains and advancing the characters' relationships and stories. Episode 4 shows Jimmy's pep talk of Lex from earlier in the season bite him super hard in the ass as Lex and our boy have a debate at a Star Labs event where Luthor successfully convinces the attendees that Superman is no good, especially after a destructive fight. Classic Lex Luthor villainy we hate to love to see. Episode 5 starts off as a cute little episode where Clark or Lois are having will they won't they issues with Metropolis's most eligible bachelor event, while Jimmy and this new Android 18 looking girl named Kara explore the city as Jimmy teaches her the wonders of Metropolis and by extension the human world, which is adorable. Then everything goes wrong as Kara and Clark encounter each other, revealing that Kara is Clark's cousin, aka the other last surviving Kryptonian. The two fight, leading to Kara winning and capturing Superman, leading to the halfway point of the season where things get even more dramatic. Even if I thought the Bachelor subplot was half and half in terms of quality, all the Kara Jimmy stuff in this episode, and quite frankly the season as a whole, is gold. Hell, I'd argue from here on out the show hits the gas pedal and delivers some of its best episodes. Like with both episodes 6 and 7, which I consider to be a two-parter because they basically take place around the same time. Episode 6 follows Clark and Kara's perspective in space, and 7 features Lois and Jimmy's schemes to go into space to chase after the Kryptonians. The former episode puts Clark and Kara through the Torment Nexus and properly introduces the main villain of the season, an old Kryptonian war program called Brainiac, who has a menacing voice and a sick mecha-esque design I love a lot, while the latter episode is a good old-fashioned heist plot. Also, 2 extra but very awesome things I like about episode 7 in particular: Jimmy using up the rest of his money is dramatic rather than comedic like the rest of the season, and how the story of the episode has 2 gay couples, one that's 2 dudes and one that's 2 women, teaming up to help Lois and Jimmy. Really solid queer solidarity right there, I like that a lot. Episodes 8 and 9 see Brainiac continue to put Clark through various mental contraptions and schemes before breaking out of them without the help of his friends alongside Kara switching sides to fight against Brainiac. I love the moment these 2 episodes crescendo in episode 9 where Lois and Clark break free from the mental illusion and the music ramps up while the duo does this amazing speech affirming their love and hope in humanity and each other, and it's just, I love this show! Then there's the season 2 finale. It's this big action-packed episode that serves as an excellent conclusion to the season and what the series has done so far. We see previous villains of the week helping out Superman, we see Brainiac's downfall, and we see Kara officially becoming the Supergirl. I'd honestly be really satisfied if this is where the show would have to end, even if they did leave a couple teases open for future developments in the epilogue, but I'm grateful we're getting more very soon. And those are my reviews / thoughts / notes on every episode of My Adventures with Superman's first 2 seasons. Overall, I love the characters and their dynamics, I think it's genuinely well animated, and of course I love the subtle and not so subtle ways that it's influenced by Japanese media, both in its visuals and narrative elements. Of course, the show has flaws. One of my major issues is that misunderstandings between characters can get a bit grating at times, but this show still manages to pull out so many great character moments after the misunderstandings are all said and done, and does too much else right for my sensibilities from both a visual and design perspective that I could excuse it. So hell yeah, I love this show, very excited for season 3, and the Green Lantern spin-off show starring Jessica Cruz, one of my favorite Green Lanterns. Another DC win. Special thanks to my patrons, including Gillustrations, Cola Robobi, Alex Dreaded Cypher, Zai of America, Mr. Falcon Punch, Riddler Randy, Titanium Rocket, Pac Jeff, and Jack Rocket.